You're too old, and it's too late to start. Has anyone ever said that to you? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's too late to quit. And oh yeah, you're not too old. In fact, the good news is that it's always the right time to start. You've come to the right place. And me and my friends are going to share our stories of why we will never, ever throw in the towel. Welcome to the Too Late to Quit podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Iftikharuddin. Let's go. And if you just say just like 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And
okay.
1 and 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Too Late to Quit podcast with Jeff Iftikharuddin. That's me. I'm super excited because today in the studio we have a very special guest. I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Mr. John Smith. John, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. Yeah.
I want to share a story with all of y'all. So back in 1994, I was going to school in La Crosse, Wisconsin at a now university called Viterbo. And my friend Chris Connors had he was in charge of activities for students, and he was good friends with my college roommate Dean. And he said, there's this amazing band called Runaway, and they're going to come and they're going to perform in the student union. And I had just started playing guitar, and I remember I watched you and Dan with 2 guitars and I think a harmonica. Something happened in that student union, and you created this magic with your 2 voices. I remember at one point, I think Dan picked up a beer bottle and played a solo.
Sounds like Dan.
And I remember I have a very interesting memory, the way my brain works. But I remember I started recording, and I'd never seen anybody play as fluid. I was watching you play these super complex chords, but then you also had this lightness and this you were just loose. And it was I remember certain songs that stick out to me, like Darlin' I Do, Speed the Grief. And I remember I was so nervous because there was at one point, I think you asked the crowd, you said, are there any requests? And I think I requested Darlin' I Do. Those songs, particularly Speed the Grief, so that was 1994. Those are songs that have, and the album that I'm holding in my hand, the Runaway, those songs have, the melodies, and then in your voice particularly, have stuck with me since that first time. And then I saw you guys a couple times more, I think at the Freight House.
Yeah.
And that, the fact that you're now here in my studio is it's a tremendous, it's very special for me. So thank you so much for being here. This is very cool.
A big circle come around. Yeah. Yeah, you bet. Those were great days. And playing with Dan, we meet a lot of other people, and we maybe share, swap songs here and there, and jams and so forth. But every now and then, you just connect with somebody on a musical level. And Dan and I did that just almost instantaneously. It's been a while, but I remember, because we've been playing together since 1987 is the first time we started to play together as a duo. Mm-hmm. And I remember some years after that, listening to our early tapes, kind of rehearsals and learning songs, what we wanted to play. And we can't really tell who's singing what part. Stuff. It was just such a great connection. And so so you talking about that brings back great memories of those days. Yeah.
If you're okay with it, I'd love to. I was telling John when we were hanging out in the kitchen how this CD, a jewel case, has gone with me for every single move since I bought it in 1994. Could you talk to me? So I lost my father in 2020, and I remember specifically Well, the first time I heard you perform Speed the Grief, I remember trying to kind of project myself and hope that I would remember what I learned from that song.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was 20 at the time, 19. And I knew the moment when I was hearing your songs, I was like, first of all, I knew it was, I don't know if I'm saying it the right way. I felt like you were on a different plane. I felt, and what I've seen when I read the comments that people write on your YouTube videos, it's almost like you're connected to something and you're sharing this connection with us. That's what I felt like. I felt like I had some great professors, for psychology or sociology. I felt like I was in some really kind of special music class, and you were also sharing these incredible life lessons. And I remember thinking, like, I hope when that day comes that I'll remember the lyrics in that song. And I remember specifically in 2020 after my dad passed and I was grieving, I remember that song and those lyrics. I went back and visited those lyrics, and there's something that I've always gotten from you is feels like you've really shared the idea of being who you are and feeling what you feel.
Yeah, and not being afraid to kind of share that, because a lot of us are, when we're talking about something that's really intimate like that. There's some part of that, one kind of wants to keep that private, but in the world of song, that's part of the key is giving. It's like a gift, and if you really think of your songs as a gift, and you're giving them, that frees you up. It frees you up so much, and so. But like, it's funny, that song you mentioned, "Speed the Grief." I wrote that song after talking with a very close friend who lost somebody. Mm-hmm. And then the song was kind of written in a dream. And I woke up in the morning, like, just real instantly, like, how when you dream, you can lose it really quick. It's like,
right.
I had this really great dream, but I can't remember it, but it was really good. So that song, line for line, not every line, but just a big chunk of it. And it was kind of me and this friend who had lost somebody having like a discussion, and it came out like in a song.
Gosh.
I mean, I wish more songs were written that way, because I love to sleep. I love to dream. But yeah, and in my songwriting, I really I like there to be some intimacy about it. It's the same thing with friendships. Most of us want friends that we really can be intimate, with what we talk about and what we share with each other, that is safe. And so that's been a big part of my musical journey, is to not shy away from that. Now, I write all kinds of songs. I mean, I write silly songs. I write some bluesy stuff. I write some country kind of ish. Not country music, but all kinds of stuff. But a lot of it will have, I guess what I would say is my truth is in it. Whatever that means. I'm talking about truth with a small t, not a capital T. So that's part of the, I don't know, barometer is the right word, but like every song has to go through that. It's got to make that criteria, and if it doesn't, then I'm not interested in it, and it just goes off to the side but sometimes I'll go back to a song and say, yeah, now I know where the juice is in that song, or where it is for me. And then you just have to trust that. You can't start thinking about how other people are going to relate to it. They do that on their own, but you trust your intuition that just says, yeah, you're on it. Like, I teach songwriting quite a bit, and I think a lot of people do sign up for my workshops sometimes, in part that they know I write those kind of songs, and it kind of scares them, but they want to, at the same time, they want to know, how does that work? And one of the things I always say is, if you're writing something and it brings a tear, I always say, follow that tear. Where did that tear come from? Why did you just, it's like when you listen to a song and all of a sudden, boom, there's crying. It's like stop. Like freeze time. Where did that come from? What part down here, triggered that right then? Because that's where the juice is for the writer, the singer. And then if you really follow that and write your song, that's going to resonate with other people. It kind of gives them permission to it's okay to feel like this. And follow the tear.
I really like that. I was listening to the interview you did with New Dimensions with Beck Hagiyama.
Yeah.
And you told a story that literally made my jaw drop. Could you please share the story of how your first guitar came into your life?
That's great. You remember that. Oh, my God. Yeah. So I grew up in Iowa, in a very small town, but was one of millions and millions of people that just got so inspired by the Beatles, right? And so from that Beatles spin-off, every little town had several garage bands. Every little town in this country, overnight. So people that never played an instrument just went out and bought, I'm going to be the rhythm guitar player, you're going to be the lead player, you're going to be the drummer, and just learn and just dive in. And anyway, so a bunch of my buddies did that, but nobody wanted to sing. So I jumped in and said, I'll give it a try, because I was always singing as a kid all the time. And so we had a nice rock and roll band, played a lot of dances and stuff, but I never played guitar. They all played guitar, and I didn't need to, and I focused on singing. And then I went off to college in Southern California, and and so I had to work my way through college and stuff. And so I was working at a used car lot in Orange County down there. And one night, and my job was after school, like 4 or 5 nights a week for 3 hours every night, I was a janitor. I'd go and clean up after all these mechanics and stuff in the back part of this car lot. Anyway, so I was there one night, and I was emptying my big garbage thing. I'd go around and collect, trash from every little bay, and there were like 30 of them or something. Anyway, I was back by the back gate, and it was right at dusk. It was just starting to get dark, and I was back there, and I'm looking back at the lots there, and I see a guy back there. I'm like, what's somebody? There's not supposed to be anybody back here, and so I'm just kind of watching him. And what's that guy doing over there? And I can see that he's got like a suitcase, and he's got like a backpack, and he's got something else, and he's kind of starting to come my way. It's kind of weird, and then all of a sudden, I didn't even know it. My boss was still there. It was like 7:30 or 8 at night, and he starts yelling at this guy, "Get back here, you thief!" Something like that. And the guy starts running faster right at me, and I'm standing right by the gate, because that's where I empty my trash. And as he gets closer, I'm standing there. I'd never forget it. I'm standing there holding my mop, my broom, and this guy, he has this big backpack on. He's got a nice big suitcase, and he's carrying a guitar, and my boss is catching up. My boss is full on running. This guy's running. They're coming at me. And next thing you know, the guy takes the guitar and throws it. I'm about 7 or 8 feet from him. He says, "Hey, you want a guitar, man?" And he just threw the guitar. And I dropped my broom, and I grabbed the guitar. And meanwhile, he runs and gets out the back gate. And then my boss is like, why didn't you get that guy? It's like, because he gave me a guitar. No. But so anyway, that's how I got my first guitar. And I remember immediately going to a music store the next day and getting the Mel Bay chord books with the G and the C and the D and all the chords. And I think within a week, I wrote a song. I just, I guess I was around the band, and our band didn't, they weren't seasoned musicians. They were brand new. So it's like I was right there, and I almost knew the chords from watching them, and we would figure out, no, it's this chord. You got to play this chord for that song, so forth and so forth. So, and then early on, too, there was just some part of me where some inner voice was like, you need to do your own thing. And because I would try to learn other people's songs and stuff, and I just never felt like I did them justice or something. And so it was probably a good thing that I thought that way, because it just made me write, and it made me, keep going deeper and deeper. And I cover some songs, but it's not very often. Mm-hmm. It's not very often. Only if I just really feel it fits in with what I do, and it feels like I can kind of own the song for that evening, or for that recording, whatever.
It feels like there's something so cinematic about that. And I used to, when I was growing up, because I'm a huge movie fan, I would always love the movie, and then as I was younger, I would realize, that was inspired by this real life occurrence, and like that, just seeing then how you launched your music career, that story is incredible. It's just what kind of a guitar? You said it was a funky guitar. What kind of guitar was it?
It was just like your guitar hanging on the wall there.
Okay.
Probably some Mexican nylon string guitar. And after I thought about it, that's probably stolen as well. If he stole the car. Well, I didn't finish this in the story. Yeah, the guy that came back into the car lot, what had happened is he somehow stole a car from the lot, because they had like probably 100 or 200 cars. And somehow he was able to get in a car and find one with a key and drove away, and came back 3 or 4 days later to leave the car. Like he borrowed it for 3 or 4 days, and thought he was just going to bring it in and walk out the back gate. And then my boss came out, but the guy did get away with it. And so, yeah.
That's incredible. That's what I was wondering about, as far as like, okay. So this is just, I think it's so cool. How do you get from that moment to then recording this first CD? Could you talk us through that? And the reason I'm asking is that one of the main reasons why I started this podcast is that I feel it's so important that people know that whatever number they have attached to them, they can always start whatever creative project that they want to do. I've had a lot of people tell me, like, oh, you're too old for that, or you must now set this dream aside and you must now embrace this life. Like, this train is past. Like, I've never believed in that.
Yeah, I don't at
all. It seems so wacky to me. And I meet a lot of people who have artistic ideas, but they've swallowed this pill that's like, no, that's foolish, or et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. I would love it if you could share the story about how you go from that moment to then recording this incredible CD.
Yeah. Well, so as soon as I really started playing professionally, by that time, I got married and started having kids. And so I really had a career. I mean, I really had a family to feed. And back in those days, I was part of I don't know what the word I'm looking for, a system that you could plug into to play college campuses all over the country. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And so it was a really great place for me to learn my chops and learn the licks and stuff like that. And I was writing songs, and then somebody told me about the Kerrville Folk Festival in Texas, and that that they just thought it would be something I ought to do. And so what I did was I decided to check it out and enter a songwriting contest they have called New Folk. And I was lucky enough to get chosen, and I was lucky enough to be one of the winners of that. And then it made me just realize I need to start recording, I need to write songs from the heart. That's what I really learned at the Kerrville Folk Festival. And so then all of a sudden got these songs and met some great people in Austin who wanted to record, me and Dan. And so that's kind of how I got there. It was really, the college market was nice, and it really paid the bills and bought a house for us and everything. But there was just something missing. There was like a bigger network that I needed to plug into, kind of. And so that record really got me started on that path. And I don't know if that totally answers your question, Jeff, but how I got from not playing guitar at all to getting a stolen guitar given to me to making a recording
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't really say I had a dream, but I will say I was going to college when that happened, and that was kind of the end of college for me. In less than a year, I was like, the whole business route that I thought I was going to take, all of a sudden, it wasn't like all of a sudden I had an answer. I just knew that wasn't the thing, and that, hey, just keep doing this music thing, and so it's just grown and grown and grown ever since then.
So I heard this phrase a couple of years ago that I thought was really cool, that the person said, how you do anything is how you do everything. And you saying that right now makes me think, I was fortunate enough to see you perform 2 incredible sets last night at the amazing home of Candy and Rosie out in Wimberley, this incredible house concert. And there was a point where you said, I saw you had a set list, and you remarked, I don't even know why I make these set lists, because they just can. I don't remember exactly. I'm paraphrasing. You said they just confuse me, or they because it seems like in that story what you just told, it seems like you've always gone with this flow that you feel like
very intuitive. Yeah, I definitely, we kind of learn that about ourselves, that we are intuitive or we aren't. It's better for us to research everything out. And but I just have a real strong intuitive sense. Some people have even said psychic, but yeah. So sometimes I like to do a set list because I'm just thinking during the day, what song haven't I played for a while? I like to play something I haven't played, and so I'll kind of visit it, and I may put that on the list, and then that night I'll start playing and go, yeah, but now that we're here in this moment, this is what I feel, and I'm going to trust that, and yeah, because every time I feel like I go against it, it's not good. It's just not just something not, I don't know what the word is, just doesn't feel right, and then you got to kind of, okay, how do we make things better right here again? So,
I've heard you in interviews, and you talked about it last night, that you were one of 10 children. And you've talked about that experience. When I was watching you last night, there was an intermission, and you came back. I love your sense of humor, and you said, "No, did everybody have a good break?" I didn't get a chance to have a break. But John, there's this in the last couple of words that's come into the lingua franca, the the idea of making someone feel seen or making space for somebody. I watched you make space and make every person, including myself and my wife, feel seen. And I was watching it, and it was just like, and I was trying to imagine, because my second mother, my mom's partner, Jen, she comes from a family of 10 children. Eddie Arnold is huge in their family. I know you'd mentioned that your mom used to listen to Eddie Arnold.
Yeah, wow.
It was really cool hearing that. But I think about what Jen is like, and I'm curious, like, have you always been like that in your family? Like, because I feel that the way that you interact with people, the way that you write songs, and most importantly, I was watching Tita, my wife was like, she was like, we were looking at people that were moved to tears by your songs. Like, and it sounds like from when you first started, has that always been something like, have you always been like this?
Yeah, I think so. I think both my folks were kind of that way as people, and most of my siblings are very kind of similar. You know, like nobody's a stranger, kind of thing. But for me, you know, it all revolves around the music. So, you know, when I'm chatting with people like at intermission like that, it's mostly because they're talking about this song moved me or this or that, or they're people that I haven't seen for 10 years. You know,
wow.
That yeah, and I do. I like to make time for it. It's a little exhausting. Not exhausting. That's not the right word. It's not restful. I'll put it that way. But it feels right. It feels right, and it makes the night, you know, all the more special, you know, for me, for those, to have those personal connections, and that's probably something that might make me a little different than some people. Some people don't do that. You know, they don't, at break time, they don't talk to people. They need to kind of go recharge or whatever, or they don't take a break.
Sure.
Let's just do a long time and then be done and see you later. But I love connecting with people, you know, and if they've done enough research to decide to come hear me play, or they've returned to see me again, I love that. And my I don't know if the right word is my fans, but sort of, my fans are just a big part of my life. They're not just fans with no names and faces. They're real people, and along with my music career, within that same orb or something of a musical career, I don't just do gigs, and I do a lot of other things, including bring people to Ireland. I've been doing that for 20 some years. Those people, they really become friends, and you know, and same thing. I teach songwriting, and people will go all over the place so they can be in a class with me, and yeah. So the fans, the connection there, is just a very real thing, a very, very real thing. You know, like I do a newsletter that I send out, and yeah, it's just very, very, very personal. And so that and the music, they're one and the same thing to me.
I think what's really cool about that is that I feel like you're so accessible, but you have this like, I know you're about to release your 10th album, your 10th solo record, and the fact that you teach, I think it's rare. Like I was watching you play last night, and it was really cool because you have this signature move that you do with your hand while you play. I'm like, this guy is so, you're so locked in, but it's like, this is what I think maybe it can be taught, but it's what I've heard lots of teachers in sports say, like, you just got to be loose, right? Yeah. And that's when the magic happens. But the fact that like I read these comments from all over the world, and you had mentioned something in your interview on New Dimensions where I thought it was so cool. You talked about the gem of a song, right? Mm. And I was thinking back as I listened to various songs from your entire catalog, and the things that stand out to me are the level, the production level. And it blew my mind that you just told me that this was first record was basically recorded live. Mm-hmm. The fact that I think it's so cool that you have these gifts, and then you also share them, and you share the process behind them. And I recognized it from that interview. Can you tell me about? Am I pronouncing right? Esalen?
Yeah.
What is that?
Esalen, it's an institute, and it's a beautiful piece of property in the Big Sur on Highway 1. Uh-huh. And it's been around. Well, Esalen is actually kind of an English way of saying the Esseline Native Americans. So it was a real sacred Native American ground there. And so a bunch of people, I don't know what you would call the movement, but Jack Kerouac and Ken Kesey and a lot of those people hung out there because they met this young guy whose family owned it, Michael Murphy, who's written a lot of great books and stuff like that. So it started out sort of like a commune, I guess you would almost say. Uh-huh. And it's just breathtakingly beautiful, and unbelievable hot springs. It's just really nice, and incredible gardens everywhere. And then the place, they needed to make money, to have this commune. Like, we need some income because we're out here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So they started inviting, Joseph Campbell, incredible writer.
Yeah.
Ida Rolf, who started Rolfing deep tissue work.
Oh my gosh.
And even bigger than that is Fritz Perl and the whole Gestalt type of therapy. All that was kind of their hub.
Wow.
And it was so much great work was done there. And so they started doing workshops. And that's how they were going to pay to keep their little Shangri-La place. Uh-huh. And they really did well. And then as it evolved, they started to invite different types of, like music, started to do some music things. And so I got invited to come there and do a songwriting thing. And it was really a big step for me. I had taught at several camps and stuff, for like a week here and there. But when I was invited to come there, I could tell it was going to really, really be different. I went there, somebody invited me who had heard me and said, I want you to come see Esalen. Come down. I had a free day. I think my last gig in Northern California was Santa Cruz. And this person was following my schedule. Said, I see that you're free. I'll do, and so I said, okay, yeah. I think I'd be cool. I'll come down and look at the place, and we'll see. And I went down, and God, as soon as I was on the grounds and I was standing there by the sea, and I went, yeah. Just every now and then you really get a loud thing from the universe, and it's just like saying, say yes, dude. Just say yes. Uh-huh. And so I did a little gig that night that I was invited to do, and then the person that asked me, if you're interested, let's go write a proposal right now. And I said, okay, I'm in. So we did, and then I got the gig, and I was like, how am I going to do this? This is not going to be the same. And knowing that all that Gestalt history and all the deep work that had been done there, I had done a lot of self-improvement kind of work, not because of anything real tragic that I had to work on, as much as I love the process of therapy, and I especially love the process of group therapy, because it's easy, well, maybe we're going off on a side thing here, but most therapy is one-on-one. You with the therapist, you can still hide. You can still hide from that therapist, or you just keep going and going and going eventually. But in a group thing, it seems to come up and somehow seeing somebody else do a piece of work on something. So anyway, I had done a lot of that. I spent 5 years.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you continue with that? When seeing somebody do work on something in a group?
Yeah. Like somebody is having, you're in a circle, and maybe they're doing some breath work or something, or they just open the floor up. Okay, anybody, let's just go around. Anybody have something they want to talk about, and like I was in a circle once. This is an example, and just about 12 people, and it's like a weekend, Friday night, all day Saturday, till Sunday night, and it just gets kind of deeper and deeper, and so they were doing a check-in, go around kind of thing, and I was kind of feeling, I'm checking in, I'm looking at I'm looking inside, say, I'm pretty good, I'm good, everything's fine here. Then all of a sudden, somebody talks about wanting to have children, and this lady just starts to, really cry. It really is a big triggered thing, and anyway, the whole thing was about her partner really didn't want to have kids, really against it, where that wasn't the deal when they hooked up, that sometime we would. Yeah. And anyway, the point is, so she was really having a cry, and it just popped open this thing. I have, it's a long story, but I had been married to my high school sweetheart, and it just didn't work out. But we had a couple kids, and they lived in Australia, and I didn't get to see them. And it was just so painful, but I was really keeping that pain in. But because her emotion there just came in and made me want to work on that piece of how much pain that I was holding on to. And so anyway, so when I went to go to Esalen, I really thought, how would this one particular therapist that I worked with a lot, how would he handle this space? And so that's when I realized it's all about holding space, creating a space and holding that space for like a week for this group of people. And, you can get help doing that. But because I had that prior work done, it really helped me in my songwriting, because that's when I work with a group like that, I really try to get everybody to, it's like a therapy thing. What do you love? What feeds you? What are you hiding from? What's that deep thing there? And music is so therapeutic, isn't it? You play. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And so, I don't know if that answers your question or not. But,
yeah, you said something. Babbling. No, I'm here for it. You said something in the interview. I wanted to. I try to write it down word for word. I thought this was so awesome, and now I'm connecting all the dots. You said, "Push your edge and express from your heart, literally and figuratively. Say the things the way you say them, even if your English is odd and your colloquialisms sound different. Put it all in there and express."
Wow, I said that?
Yes, you did.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, well, I guess sometimes you have to think about, or you get asked about your process, or what do you like in songwriting? What's evolved for you? I really like songs that are conversational, that they almost could be spoken, and so so that's always kind of the way I approach things. If it feels too contrived, how many times have you gone to a play or a movie? You're watching a movie and you go, God, this guy looks like he's reading a line. You know, it's not conversational.
Yeah,
nobody talks that way. Come on, nobody talks that way. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So it's interesting you say that, because when I grew up about 45 minutes north of Chicago, close to the Kenosha border, and when I went to La Crosse, I fell in love with all the colloquialisms in La Crosse, right? That I'd never heard before. I'd never heard a drink fountain referred to as a bubbler. I'd never heard the adjective honkin', like that's honkin' big, or certain things like that I've...
Doesn't everybody say that?
I think it's great. And there's... I would start to adapt those, and then when I would travel and I would say those, I would get teased for it. And I always thought that was funny, that because I use this certain colloquialism, then you assume whatever, all these things about. I was like, but that's just how I like to talk. Like it's a word that feels good in my brain when I say it.
Well, like here I am in Texas for a couple of weeks. You can bet your life when I get home, there's going to be some y'alls. and, you know, because I love it. And you know what else will come out when I come to Texas is fixin'. I'm fixin'. I love that. That just, it works. But yeah, Wisconsin definitely has their share of them. Yeah.
So you said that was I was thinking about that interview while I was listening to you last night, and that's where I feel. It's like I saw this YouTube video. I think he's this French Canadian magician, and he does this card work where he just like makes these cards appear, right? And it's one of those things where it's a video where there's a guy watching the video and he's commenting on it, and he's a magician, and I'm watching you last night, and I'm like, these are all. I was listening to every single lyric you're saying, and I'm like, this is all could be in a conversation, but then you have a turnaround and you have this rhyme, but it's all feels so natural, but that you make it look so easy. The song, and I have is it Thick as Thieves?
Thick as Thieves, yeah.
About your friend Rowdy. Is that on your 10th, the new record that's coming out, correct?
That's on the new record, yeah.
It was like you were it was like this conversation. And I was watching just the silence in the room and the reaction afterwards. And I don't know what everybody else was thinking. All I know is that I was thinking about who the Rowdy was in my life, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, John just did something. It's just like, it's kind of like the way I always think of it is like piano mover. It's like, oh, well, yeah, you just put the 1,500-pound piano on the thing and up and go down the stairs. Like, oh, when I watch the piano move, that's easy, right? Try to do it, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And so you're telling this story, and and I would bet $1 million that every single person, even if they didn't have a Rowdy, was picturing how do you do that? It's like I never met the guy, but when you said the line about the conversation where he drew a bad card, like I don't even know this guy, and this is affecting me.
Yeah, you're getting to know Rowdy in the song, and then you go, oh my God, Rowdy doesn't make it. Not funny, by the way. But yeah, so that song, there was a lot of, especially when you're writing about something that's your own story. This is a true story. I really do believe somebody could write a song very similar and make the whole thing up. Some great writers, do that.
Yeah.
I tend to, I'm not afraid to write about my own, story. And so there could have been a lot of fodder. I had a lot of fodder for that song. So many stories of me and Rowdy in my circle of people. But in writing songs, I think I don't know who I first kind of heard talk about this. I think it was James Taylor years ago. That he likes songs to be a journey, that it's going somewhere, not just chronologically, but it's getting juicier as it goes too. Like any good story, like a movie's the same way, I think. And so it's kind of like telling the story, but I only have 3 minutes here. I have a short time to tell a big story. And so how can I do that in a very conversational way? Of course, most of that song kind of came out. The problem was I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep writing verses. I could have more and more. But then it's like, okay, now what I call it is then get out the Zen knife. And, it's like, was it Michelangelo who did the carvings, whatever? And they asked him about it. He said, I just carve away everything that's not part of the vision that you have. In the same way in songwriting, sometimes we write and then we go in and say, that's not that part's not necessary. If I could trim that off, and I can get rid of this whole verse. I already said that kind of in the second verse or so. So yeah, just to have the story kind of move along like that.
John, do you use the same one of the songs that always that I can count? I can't count. I've lost count since I got this CD in 1994. I'll be in some supermarket somewhere or on a plane, and I'll hear the melody of Dad Don't Worry, right? Mm-hmm. Do you use the same? And I'm so curious about that song. Just lyrically, it's just incredible. Do you use the same process? Are you writing songs the same way?
Oh, since then?
Yeah.
In part, yeah, but I probably have evolved a lot more about it. And, but yeah, that song you're talking about, Dad Don't Worry, is a song about the quintessential story of somebody heading out from home and not sure when you're going to come back, if you're ever going to come back, kind of. And so that story was actually triggered by our youngest, who was going off to kindergarten that day. And there I was, and I was used to being with him every day, all day at home. And then something about sending him off in the morning, that first day of kindergarten with his older brother and sister. It's just somehow the emotion, it's like the thing is when you get an emotion, it's like hang on to that thing, because songs are all about emotion. If they don't have feeling, you don't have much. And so, and I was like, God, what is this feeling I'm feeling about it? And it's like, and all of a sudden I was like, God, it just felt like when I left home, And so I kind of projected him all the way from going to kindergarten off to going to college, or wherever you go when you leave home. And so I just kind of followed that. And as a matter of fact, that song "Dad Don't Worry" is what was one of the things that got me into the Kerrville new folk, and was a winning song for me. Yeah, isn't that funny?
I mean, there's the line. So I shortly after I met you, I ended up traveling to South America for a year, and I kept thinking about the line. Couldn't move any further away. Couldn't get further away.
Yeah.
It's just it's. Can you walk me through that song? Just the process, or the how you looking back on that song now?
Oh God, I don't know. I haven't played it in so long. I don't play very often anyway. So I kind of set up the song about a parent, me, and going to help my son leave home and carry his bags outside, and and catching him out of the corner of my eye, stopping a minute and having to look back at the house. You know how it is when you leave, and and just that look. And then how that triggers my memory of when I left home in my little town of Iowa. And I just remember my mom and dad and some of my siblings standing at the curbside when I drove off with some guy, total stranger that I met at a gas station. But the gas stations back when I was growing up were social places.
Yeah.
Like people playing cards in there and having their coffee and stuff. And I was walking. I'm kind of diverting a little bit, but I was walking down the street. I knew I was going to California. I wanted to get out of Iowa. Not like I hated Iowa. I was just a dreamer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go to where there was an ocean and where there were palm trees. And so I had signed up sight unseen to go to college at Orange Coast College and near Laguna Beach in California. But I didn't have a clue how I was going to get there and stuff. And my folks were not weren't wealthy. They were, real blue collar kind of thing. And so I was like, I need to get a ride out there somehow. So I'm walking down the street one day, and I see a car with California plates on it in our little town. There it is. And I was like, I bet you that guy's in the gas station there. He's got to be. So I walk in there, and I know most of the old guys, and I say, hey, who owns that car from California out there? Uh-huh. And this one guy said, that's my car there. And I said, wow, what's it like? California, where do you live? And he's talking a little bit. And he says, yeah. He said, I'm looking for somebody to drive me to California. Do you know anybody that would drive me out there?
Oh, my God.
Because he was old and he couldn't. And I was like, dude, I'm in. When do we go? And he's like, we're leaving in 3 days. And I did all the driving. So I drove this old 80-some-year-old fella all the way out to California.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and it was just, I could write a nice chapter or vignette about riding out to California with Ed. The first day we really didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And I was feeling homesick. Oh, shit, what am I doing here? I just remember that night, and he wanted to go to bed real early. And I was young. I was used to staying up till midnight. So I'm like walking around some town in Nebraska, And so then the next day we're getting to be buddies. We're like in Wyoming or something. And the first night we each had our own room. The next night he said, well, John, you seem okay. He said, would it be okay if we split a room?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, Ed, that's totally cool, man. You're paying for everything, whatever you want to do. And so I'll never forget it. And he was paying for all the food, everything.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was having lunch, and I was having burgers and fries and a big chocolate malt. And Ed was like, chocolate malt? I haven't had one of those in years. And he said, and he also told me, John, you have to decide when it's time to eat, because I don't ever get hungry.
Really?
I don't eat if I'm not told or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Ed, about twice a day, Ed had to have a hot fudge malt. Anyway, so we're sharing a room. I'll never forget it. And we're going to bed, and Ed's sitting by the side of his bed there, and he sets his wallet there. He says, John, here's my wallet right here. He said, if anything happens to me, the the contacts are in my wallet there. And I was like, Ed, don't do anything. Don't die.
Oh, my God.
By this time, I was like, anyway, but it was really
John,
fun.
this is incredible. Oh,
yeah. So anyway, back to the song, Dad, Don't Worry. So just the memories of that whole thing of going home. And then, and of course, choruses are big in songs. Not all the time. Not all great songs have big choruses. But when the chorus naturally fell out from playing on my guitar and stuff like that. By the way, I wrote that song on a mandolin. Very rare to write songs. So I wrote that song on the mandolin. Yeah. And I still, every now and then, I dig out the song. But the reason I probably don't play it a lot is I've written a handful of songs about my dad. I have another song called That's My Dad. I have another song called From His Window. And another song called Growing Up So Fast. I think I had a lot of more dad issues than mom issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's blowing my mind right now. This is that's incredible. So this is this theme that I'm seeing is that it's like this feels so cinematic to me, because it's like the universe is saying, here's your guitar, here's your ride to California. It's incredible.
Yeah. I have had a lot of circumstances fall out of the sky for me, and maybe I create them with my attitude. Some people would say, yeah, you totally do. But I guess I kind of expect them a little bit. I I have dozens of stories of things like that, and go, wow, what if I wasn't right there at that time?
Yeah.
Everything would be different. We all have moments like that, you know.
But it seems like you say yes to these, like you went into the gas station and you spoke out and you accepted the guitar that got tossed to you. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And I was really interested because my father-in-law is currently doing that. May I ask you about the Course in Miracles?
Yeah.
Because you said how you kind of just expected that. I don't know much about it aside from what you talked about on that podcast. Is that something you're still involved with? Is that something that you think would have contributed to your attitude as far as to expecting those things to happen? Like I think it's very special.
I don't know in that context, but the Course in Miracles is something I don't necessarily practice anymore. But was it a big touchstone? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Uh-huh.
You know how we have places, plateaus in our life. The Course in Miracles I stumbled onto. Somebody had given me a book called Return to Love, and I just like reading stuff like that. And then, you know, Eckhart Tolle, so other writers that I was reading. I always have a handful of books like that by the side of the bed, and they kept mentioning the Course in Miracles. And so there was a time period where for 5 years, I still lived at home, but I had a publishing contract in Nashville. So I would go 1 week a month. And when I was down there, I found that there was a Course in Miracle little group thing. I'd heard about, it was funny, I'd heard about the Course a lot. You know, when sometimes they say in marketing, we need to see or hear something like 20 times before we go,
right.
Hey! And you act like it's the first time, but it's not. It's gonna.
Right,
so
right.
I'll never forget this. Like here's an example of the Course for me. I remember I was with Dan, and we were in Boise, Idaho, and I had read something, and it just some moment said, John, instead of reading all these other people, why don't you go to the source that they're all getting their inspiration from, the Course in Miracles. So I was like, I got to get that book. Yep. So Dan and I do our gig at this place. We're there 2 nights. We go to this really nice, cool coffee shop in Boise, which is a great town. Not Boise, that's Idaho. Bozeman.
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 Okay. Yeah.
Bozeman, Montana.
Sure.
And so we go to this coffee shop, and just to get coffee, and I just had this epiphany the night before about having to get that book. And Dan and I get our coffee, and we go sit down at a little table, and there's another, it's like tiered, and there's another level of tables. And when I turn to my left, there's the spine of A Course in Miracles. And so,
wow. So
I was like, wow. So without even thinking, I got up and walked up to that table and asked that person, I said, excuse me, but I see you're reading The Course in Miracles, you know. And he looked at me really strange, like he was scared almost. And but I said, what do you think of it? And so he started opening up how special it was to him. And I said, did you get that book in town here? Where'd you get the book at? He said, oh, no, you can't get that here. You know, I got it in California or something like that. And so I wrote the address down in the back of the publishing company of the book and said thanks a lot and left. And then I just remembered we went and did our second night of this gig. That was the second night. So I'm going to bed and I'm like, I can't find that piece of paper. And I'm like, hey, universe, you know, this whole thing of that book being right there. I get this thing like I'm supposed to get the book. Yeah. I go to a coffee shop and it's right there in my face, literally. I was like, what's going on? Why did I lose that piece of paper now? So in the morning, we decide that we'll go down and see if that guy's at the coffee shop again. I'll get it. Maybe he goes there every morning like some people do.
Right.
So we go there, get our coffee, shoot, the guy's not around. And so we got the car parked in front of the coffee shop. We're going to whip a Yui and head back out to head back to Wisconsin. And Dan goes about half a block, and I go, stop, there's a bookstore here.
Yeah.
I'm going to run in there.
Yeah.
See if they got the book. And so I go in there, and I find a worker there, and I said, you wouldn't have a book called A Course in Miracles, would you? And he gave me this look. Like, he said, whoa. He said, just the other day, I came across this book, A Course in Miracles. I didn't know where it belonged or whatever. And so he put it over in this one little section and took me over there. They had one copy. And I bought the book.
Wow.
Anyway, then I studied it. And I guess in a thumbnail here, the way it really made me look seriously at our level of separation. When I mean separation, I mean it in a big way. That in general, we walk through life that you're Jeff, and you have your story, and you have your history. And I'm John, and I grew up in Iowa, and played music, so forth. But on a deeper level, everything is one. Everything is one. That sounds really woo-woo, but when you go through the course, it just strips you down of how. In that story is our ego, on a bigger level. That's what our ego really is, and it's just how tied are we to that, or how open are we that our little thing is within a big thing, and it's all connected. That was a big thing in the course for me, and also the sense of forgiveness, of carrying around stuff that, either stuff that we did wrong or we thought somebody did something wrong. The course just helped me with that so much. And I'm not saying anybody needs to do the Course in Miracle.
Yeah. I'm
not putting it above any other kind of spiritual path.
Yeah.
Kind of. But for me, it was a big one. But I don't necessarily go to that. There's things that will always stay with me. There are little phrases, like, because when you do the Course in Miracles, the reason they call it a course is like 365 days. And there's a little writing for each day. Mm-hmm. And they start out real simple, and they get a little more complex. But one that's always be with me was like, the simple phrase, I can choose peace instead of this. I can choose peace. And just, sitting in traffic jam, you can get irritated and start to get upset, what's going on, why, and just saying, I can choose peace, and you can. It's a choice, and just, bring it down. So, yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. That makes me think one of the song of yours that I connect with a lot, that you played yesterday, is "Kicking This Stone." Mm-hmm. And there's a YouTube video of you, and I took a screenshot. I thought this was really cool. I love reading the comments on videos. And this is 5 months ago. They said, this is at Scott E2593. I recently discovered John's music. He is such a wonderful songwriter and musician. I can deeply feel his music. When I watched your sign-up list fill up, your email list, and I felt what was happening last night. In that video, this is why when I had reached out to you and you wrote me while you were on this cruise, and you were telling me about your 10th record, and I was telling you that I'm still learning how to write songs, and you said, me too. I was like, what?
True.
And then in this video at the end, because you talk about, it's such a deep concept as far as kicking the stone, about trying to be better each day. Yeah. And you end the video, you say, well, we'll find out. And I was like, this guy is, it's like I think for me, those are the teachers I've connected with the most, are the ones who don't try to shove a lesson plan down your throat, but live by example. Yeah. And the thing is that like you, and I think, at least I'm gonna speak for myself, it makes me feel comfortable then to be me. And if I speak English in an odd way, like, that's who I am, right?
Yeah.
And to follow that tier, to try to find my own gems. But that's what I'm so curious about your 10th record. Like, it sounds like you're still I was somebody was talking about Tiger Woods, I think Stephen Pressman, about how he works with a coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Tiger Woods. If there's somebody who's a better coach than him, who is it? No, but the thing is, every time I go to write a song or find myself in a song, it's a mystery. It's really a mystery how it's going to go, where it wants to go. It's totally a dance. It's totally a dance with the muse. And you say, what the hell's the muse? What the muse to me is that there is kind of like this higher intelligence, this thing that's all connected that I'm talking about, this oneness that's happens in songs. And I think the key to good songwriters, they trust that. They don't feel like they're totally writing the song. I mean, I've had this conversation with so many songwriters, and it's always kind of, I don't know why we do it, but we always kind of whisper it. Like, I wrote that song, I don't know where. Like the best line in the song. That's the muse. That's the universe. If you trust it, and now the big thing with any art is to say, make a start. Just start. And then trust the process. The process is a combination of all the work that you've ever learned about writing songs, all the songwriting tools that you have in your toolbox, how to write choruses and verses and inner rhymes, and keep making it be a journey. And should I write in first person or second person? All that kind of stuff. That's all there. If you've used it a lot, it's a tool you're ready to grab. But the big thing is the inspiration part, and just keep writing, and all of a sudden, sometimes you write it, and then you go, whoa, I could have never thought of that myself. It comes from I guess a deeper well or a higher place, or but it's a gift. I guess the closest word would be, it just feels like a little grace. A little grace was given to you. You got a little help. It's not a little help, it's big help. I mean, that really made the song. Yeah. So it's the kind of thing you can develop that. You can develop that relationship with the muse. And for me, like a lot of people, I'm doing a lot of things, and I like to do a lot of things. And so I don't sit down every day and try to write a song with my guitar. But here I am releasing a 10th CD, and it's really fun. I played this with it's a live record again. It's me with a band.
Wow.
Me with a great bass player and a drummer and a great guitar player in Oregon. And, so taking some great players and kind of doing a little bit of rehearsing. I'm talking about 10 minutes, 15 minutes rehearsing, and then going in and maybe taking 5 or 6 takes, and no cutting and pasting, no click track, just let it kind of breathe. Yeah, it's kind of scary. It's kind of like jumping on a horse without a saddle, riding bareback. Okay. Yeah.
What's the title of your 10th record?
I'm not sure. I think it's going to be Simple As. I have a song called Simple As, which is a new song. It's kind of a real groovy kind of a thing, and it's really about a simple life, just wanting to, follow my instincts and stuff like that, and not be pulled by this and pulled by that, and just And as I get older, I think I think about that more. Like I love traveling here and doing shows in Texas.
Yeah,
but it's more challenging than it used to be when I was 30-something, So.
Well, John, thank you so much for coming on to the Too Late to Quit podcast. This has been a dream come true to get to interview you and have you share all this knowledge and your stories, especially like I had so many questions about this record.
Seeing that old CD, that's just it's been a journey. It's really, really been a journey. And I'll just say to you, good luck with your journey, with your writing your songs and
thank you,
telling you, sharing your truth, and I just trust the universe. I mean, just trust. I really believe that. Follow something you love, and the rest will basically take care of itself. That doesn't mean there won't be days you end up in the ditch and blah blah blah. But in the long run, the universe it's there to help us. It's there to help us. So.
Well, on that note, always remember that it's always the right time to start, and you got this. And John, I would love it if you could take us out with a song.
Okay.
Awesome.
Happy to.
Thank you so much.
Get my guitar here.
Do you want to give an intro?
Yeah. Oh, an intro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're cool with it.
Okay.
We are rolling in your own time.
Okay. Yeah, I'll leave you with this newer song that'll be on my new upcoming CD, which will be called Simple As. But this song here is called Thick as Thieves, and I wrote it one night when I was in an extra good place, sitting in my kitchen, watching twilight happen, and happened to have a guitar on the wall, and I grabbed the guitar, and this first line just kind of came out, and I was like, wow, where did that come from? And I wasn't thinking about this friend at all, but the song was. And so I always kind of like to send this out to anybody out there thinking about, some of those friends or a friend that we had when we were like in middle school or high school that really kind of helped us through the awkwardness and the hard times of that. And we're trying to kind of find our own identity, and we're trying to, so this one is about one of my dear buddies. Me and my friend Rowdy, we were thick as thieves. If you found Rowdy, you probably found me. Walking the railroad tracks out to Silver Creek, me and Rowdy, thick as thieves. Me and Rowdy, we weren't really thieves. We only took a few lucky strikes from his mom Annabelle when she fell asleep. Blowing smoke rings and shooting the breeze under the stars, me and Rowdy, thick as thieves. Thick as thieves. Thick as thieves. We stole the day, we stole the night, we stole the twilight. In between we were only kids, but we had it all, we believed. Me and Rowdy, thick as thieves. Me and Rowdy got through high school somehow, riding this beat-up Galaxy round the gravel roads outside of town. Couple of beers, couple cute girls, kissing beneath the cottonwood trees. Me and Rowdy, thick as thieves. Me and Rowdy, we each went our own way. I followed songs to California. Rowdy took a job at the factory. Somehow the years piled on, we didn't talk that much it seemed. Me and Rowdy, thick as thieves. Thick as thieves. Thick as thieves. We stole the day, we stole the night, we stole the twilight. In between we were only kids, but we had it all, we believed. Me and Rowdy, thick as thieves. Then Rowdy called one day and gave me the news that he drew a bad card this time, and the doctors only gave him a month or two. The last time I saw Rowdy, he wasn't looking so great. I pulled up a chair next to his recliner. I grabbed my guitar and I started to play. I kissed him on the forehead when I got up to leave. It's hard to say goodbye when you're thick as thieves. It's hard to say goodbye when you're thick as thieves. Me and my friend Rowdy, we were thick as thieves.
Thank you for listening to the Too Late to Quit podcast, a 424 Records and Rude Rudy production. Copyright 2026, all rights reserved. You got this.